Welcome into a brand new hour of CBS Sports HQ. I'm Haley Sutton. If you listen closely, you can hear the boos coming all the way from Green Bay for Commissioner Roger Goodell. The NFL draft just 2 days away as we wait to hear all those names called this weekend. And you guys at home know better than anyone that our draft experts have been waiting for this week to finally arrive. That list includes our Ryan Wilson, who's been hard at work analyzing each and every prospect. We know about the Cam Wards, the Abdul Carter. So as we count down to that first pick by the Tennessee Titans, what other names should we know heading into the weekends? Last year, it was the year of the quarterbacks, a record-tying 6 play callers taken in the first round. What hidden gems does Green Bay have for our Ryan Wilson, who joins us now? That is my favorite picture ever of you, Ryan, by the way. I need you to recreate that at some point. Our draft analyst and host of the With the First Pick podcast, Ryan Wilson, going to break down some draft gems for us. Ryan, let's get this one started with a quarterback. We've talked a lot about Cam Ward, Shadur Sanders, but what about a guy like Kyle McCord? He left Ohio State, went to Syracuse, ended up leading the nation in passing yards. Why is Kyle McCord your first hidden gem?
Because we haven't been talking a lot about him, Haley, and you talked about it there. We saw in the graphic he broke the ACC single-season passing record, went from Ohio State where he was under the radar, under the gun a lot, and that's part of the reason he left. He didn't get that team where it needed to be. Went to Syracuse. New coach Fran Brown let him sling it around the yard, and he went from probably a priority free agent to almost certainly a day 2 guy. It'll be interesting to see how high he goes, but this is part of the reason I love him. And shout out to Austin Hunt for crushing these graphics here. So this is too high safety. You see the linebacker turn his back. Once he does that, Kyle McCord layers the ball to the second level better than anyone in this draft class. That is precision, 25 yards down the field, right on the wide receiver's hands. Here he is, showing a little athleticism. We talk about Kyle McCord as a pocket passer. He looks left against NC State. It's not there. Buys a little time, rolls right, sees the receiver between the hashes, understands that there's a little space for him to throw the ball just inside the numbers, get it there, and here comes the cornerback down off the coverage from the wide receiver there, but it gives his wide receiver enough time to protect himself and make that play. You love to see it. Kyle McCord had a great Shrine Bowl, had a great combine interview process, and Haley, I think there's a real chance for him to find his way into either the second or the third round. I would take him in the second round, but he should be there in round 3 and hopefully go off the board at that point.
Who would have thought leaving Ohio State would boost his draft confidence there? But that's what you get when you are Kyle McCord. Let's move on and talk running backs, because after Ashton Genty's performance, Ryan, at Boise State, a lot of folks believe that 2024 is the year of the running back. And a lot of people also have their eye on another guy, a guy out of SMU in Brashard Smith. Tell us why he is your second hidden gem.
Yeah, it feels like, Haley, these running backs are going from the Derrick Henry-sized guys to getting a little smaller into the Jahmyr Gibbs-type running backs because of their ability to make plays not only between the tackles, but they can bounce it outside. They can help in the pass game. And Brashard Smith helps in the pass game first because guess what? He was a former wide receiver. 3 years at the U. He was a wide receiver there. Went to SMU and had over 60 targets. And here he is running the ball. And this is a little zone scheme. The right tackle misses the edge rush there. But Brashard's patient. He's going to cut it back in that little crease he sees there. Number 88 blocks the off-ball linebacker, and then Brashard does the rest. When Brashard gets to the second level, that is a huge problem for linebackers and defensive backs. And I mentioned the route running ability as a former wide receiver. Here's a little stutter go. This poor defensive back hasn't a chance. Bop, bop, he stops, turns on the accelerator, and then we see the ability to make contested catches. The defensive back has his back, so this is all in Brashard Smith just making a play, comes down with it, controls it through the ground, as we like to say, and that is a first down. And again, I would take him on day 2, Haley. He's the type of back that can come in and do some Christian McCaffrey type things for you. He is not Christian McCaffrey, but he has that sort of game, and that'll be interesting to watch as he grows into the NFL, as he learns to play running back, because he hasn't done it very long.
Yeah, it's interesting when we talk about position flex, we're either talking about Travis Hunter, obviously first and foremost, or we're talking about offensive linemen who can kind of switch on the line. But good to know that he's got some versatility there and can maybe lean on his wide receiver experience trying to make that transition. All right, let's go to the wide receiver room, Ryan, because there's a handful of guys at the top of the crop that have maybe stolen some headlines. But let's talk about a guy that you like out of Arkansas. Isaac Tesla racked up 896 yards and 5 touchdowns in 25 career games.
Yeah, Hillsdale transfer. Shout out to Hillsdale. You probably didn't have that on your bingo card for draft coverage conversation, Haley. But here we are. So Isaac Tesla is almost 6'4". He's 215. He ran a 4.43. And guess what? He plays that fast. Played primarily in the slot at Arkansas, but you can move him around. But I think he's going to do the most damage at the next level as one of these big slot receivers. Didn't play a ton. He wasn't a starter, but when he was on the field, he was a difference maker. Here he is, looking like he's going to run what's an inside fade, and then he breaks it off into like a post route, and the middle of the field is wide open. All you have to do is throw it up for Isaac TeSlaa, let him be the high point catch machine at 6'4", and that's exactly what he does. He feels like a quarterback's best friend in that he's the size of a tight end and plays the middle of the field, but he also runs like a wide receiver with that 4.43 speed that I mentioned. Safety, cornerback, linebacker, no one has a chance in that sort of situation because Isaac TeSlaa is going to get up above everyone. And as I mentioned, he can certainly motor down the field. Here he is again from the slot on a trips left here. Jaylen Green, the athletic quarterback from Arkansas, just throw it up, man, see what happens. Isaac TeSlaa does the rest, runs underneath it, and then he essentially runs a 40-yard dash there and sends poor number 8 back to the bench wondering what happened. This sort of stuff is all over TeSlaa's tape when he is targeted. And again, he feels a little, I don't want to oversell it, Haley, but he feels a little bit like Puka Nacua. He ran a faster time coming out. But again, it's one-on-one. All you have to do is throw the ball up if you're a scrambling quarterback, and Isaac TeSlaa does the rest. He runs underneath this great throw from Jaylen Green, and then he turns on the afterburners from about 38 yards to the end zone, and he's touching paint, as the kids say, I believe, Haley.
Oh, now we got some slang in there from Ryan Wilson. You know, I didn't want to steal your fire when you brought up Hillsdale College, but I did want to mention that TeSlaa had no stars coming out of high school, and yet here he is standing looking at his NFL dream getting ready to be realized. So that's good work there from our Ryan Wilson, keeping us updated. Let's go to another wide receiver that you're looking at, Ryan, out of Utah State, Jaylen Royals. And with a last name like Royals, I feel like you got to have big performances time in and time out. He has done just that. What has caught your attention when it comes to his film?
Yeah, Haley, unfortunately he got hurt in October, so he missed the second half of the season. But when he was on the field, he was the show in town for Utah State's offense, at least their passing offense. He's used primarily closer to the line of scrimmage, but he does have the ability to make plays down the field. And when I watched him, I felt a lot of Jaden Reed vibes out of Michigan State, who was a second-round pick of the Packers a few years ago. Royals ran in the 4.4s, and he plays that way. And here he is in a trips right bunch against Boise State. You can recognize the turf there. And this is a great route from Jaylen Royals. We talk about him being a screen guy, but here he is running down the field. He stacks the defensive back. The defensive back is now in his hip pocket, and not only does he stack him, he leaves a little bit inside, so there's no way for the defensive back to undercut that route. Easy catch. Great throw from the quarterback there, and he just saunters into the end zone. Sachets was the word I was looking for. Either one works there, but he makes that look easy, and he's 6 feet. He's 200 pounds. He runs fast, so he checks all the boxes. Here he is in that sort of quick game, get him a little tunnel screen, and then great blocking by his two teammates here, and then he does the rest. Runs through an arm tackle, and then runs past this player, gets a few extra yards, yak, and that's what he can do. You can use him near the line of scrimmage, get the ball in his hands quickly, or you can push it down the field, and he'll outrun everyone, usually on his way to the end zone.
Yeah, we see there third most receiving yards per game in all of FBS last year, so even with the injuries, still making an impact. If we go to the guy, Ryan, that's one above, when we talk about Royals, we find a guy in Harold Fannin Jr. out of Bowling Green, the MAC MVP, a consensus All-American, and he's a tight end. Ryan, what do you like about him?
He's a tight end in name, and he will block in his defense. He's about 238 is what he played at, but they use him mostly in the slot. You can line him up outside. He lined up at running back, and you might say, well, he didn't play power 4. I would say, well, go watch weeks 2 and 4 from a year ago where he put a hurting on Penn State and Texas A&M out of the Big Ten and the SEC, respectively, and that shows up. Went to the Senior Bowl, fit right in, ran a 4.71. That is plenty fast for your slot/tight end receiver. He has a quirky running motion, and I think that makes people think that he's slower than he is. He is not slow. He is plenty fast, and we have plenty of proof to show you here. 6'3", 241 is what he weighed at the combine, and here he is winning a route. He's great in zone schemes and high points the ball again. And not only does he high point the ball consistently, Haley, he maintains his balance. You see it here. He does not go down, and then he just runs through arm tackles, gratuitous little stiff arm there for no reason. That guy didn't deserve that, and he makes his way to the end zone. But there's a lot of high-point contested catches in Harold Fannin's arsenal, and it usually involves him staying on his feet and continuing to make plays. Here he avoids a huge hit from the Penn State safety, makes the catch, and gets a few extra yards. Yak, usually if you're on the receiving end of this, you're going to get lit up by that safety. But it's a great throw. You see sort of the alligator arms, but perfection in terms of bringing the ball in and still getting a few extra yards after the fact. That's what Harold Fannin does. He's going to be, he should be a day 2 pick. We'll see where he ends up going. This tight end class is absolutely stacked. But I would take him on day 2 and use him in the slot as a big slot to be the best friend of your quarterback, whether whether your quarterback is young or old, Haley.
All right, Ryan. Well, we're going to let you take just a little bit of a break. I know this is Team No Sleep Week for you as we count down to the NFL Draft, but thanks so much for your time here on HQ Spotlight. Plenty more from Ryan Wilson on his podcast with The First Pick. If you need any information to get you ready for the big day come Thursday, make sure you scan that QR code on your screen. Listen in wherever you get your podcasts for up-to-the-minute NFL Draft news.